on kind of the way she's been, and not just with the Charlie Kirk case, but kind of her MO, her modus operandi on how she approaches the Macron, um, series that she did, because she doesn't investigate anything. How she's approached and she barely talks about the Epstein files like this. I wish she would. Like, I really wish she would go hard in on the Epstein files like she does with Charlie Kirk. They probably would have released a lot more by now if she would do that. She could have more views, and it actually would have it's something that everybody on both sides of the aisle, you know, I'm not, a liberal left or Republican. I'm me. I'm A for American. But both both parties would have benefited from that, right? If she would have just focused on the Epstein files and went hard in on that as she has done with Charlie Kirk. Now, imagine if she does go all in on the Epstein files and put out 14, 15 weeks now of consecutive Epstein file videos. And she actually goes through everything that's been released. It would definitely create a demand for more of the information to be released. Then she could put stuff together with that. It wouldn't even have to be conspiratorial. It could be based on what she's reading. If she were to do that, she still would have probably got to the views she received, but it would have been, views on something that you can present documentation on. Nothing you have to make up and be conspiratorial about. I never thought someone's death like this would be scrutinized and weaponized and monetized to this extent by someone that claims to be a friend. But the way she goes about doing it, when it comes down to it, there's still no basis of facts or evidence or finding of fact, evident, or law. You wouldn't be able to take any of this stuff that she says to court. It would not help prove any case. It would not help bring forth whomever this second, third shooter is that she keeps trying to imply. It would not get us any closer to Tyler Robinson somehow being proven to not be the shooter and this person is. It wouldn't hold weight in court. That's where it matters. All the stuff, her banter is for just entertainment for her. But it's not solving anything because she still walks away pretending like she's asking a question. So what are you doing, Candace, if you're still walking away asking questions? And the things that you want, like evidence related to the investigation, you're not going to get, girl. So this young man had a great way of just kind of wrapping that up. And we want to start this off with him, and then we'll get into her show. And then we'll watch some Ami Kozak because we're going to need to laugh after that. So, I haven't seen her show. I just saw the title and the thumbnail, and I was like, wait, what? Okay, I guess we got to look up Norse mythology. So let's start this off with, and I want to make sure I say, who do you meme? Content creator, yeah, who do you meme? And then we'll go to we'll pull up the Norse mythology after this so that everyone can understand the basis of it. Yeah, I'm factual. I get it might be a saying and everything, but what it goes back to and where it started and originated, I'm like looking at the historical context of that. And I'm like, would that be something Charlie Kirk would even entertain if he were alive? Seriously. Like her and Kosh Patel are wrong. I don't know. She shouldn't have repeated it if she knows better, right? She knows he's a Christian. Would he even have entertained that? It's just me. That's just me. All right. Put a one in the chat when you can see and hear. Let's get to it.
Candace Owens might be one of the most persuasive voices online right now. What she's really doing, whether she knows it or not, is one of the most effective persuasion formulas on the internet. Her videos on Charlie Kirk's assassination have averaged millions of views, and Candace is incredibly good at one thing: making people feel certain without ever proving anything. So I sat through all 36 hours of her investigation so far, every clip, every theory, just to see what's really going on. And what I found were 5 tactics that make Candace Owens not just convincing, but dangerously persuasive. And once you see them, you won't be able to unsee them. Now, obviously, a lot of people feel
Anomaly
deceived and
overload.
gaslit by institutions, and in many cases, rightly so. But that's not the only thing going on here. If you've ever watched one of our episodes, you'll notice it immediately. The odd footage, the timestamps, things that don't line up, the screenshots that don't make sense, and the random people who suddenly seem suspicious. But she doesn't just give you 1 or 2 of these. Every episode, she throws out more than you can count. Nearly 15 in this video alone, sometimes over 20. In fact, I say that this is virtually the entirety of her episodes. She gathers anything that could look suspicious, even if it could be random or unrelated.
On 9/4, Akash Patel as far as November and December. Then we have Frank Turek on October 7th. Well, Megyn Kelly.
And with so many anomalies being introduced every episode, at least a couple of them will strike you as strange. And given the sheer volume of her claims, your ability to think carefully about any of them gets drawn out by the sheer number of them. By the time you start to think critically about one date or rumor or insinuation, she's already moved on to the next. So eventually what happens is you stop paying attention to the quality of the evidence and you're overwhelmed by the quantity, leaving you to conclude that there's just simply too many strange things occurring for there not to be something more going on. This can be thought of as an anomaly overload. It's what happens when a flood of speculation starts to feel like evidence and when the gaps in our knowledge become proof that something sinister is happening.
What's going on here? What are Egyptian military subcontractors doing in the middle of Provo, Utah on the day that...
Still nothing to do with the case at hand. If she wants to fill in a gap, figure out how did the weapon get on the top of the roof? Exactly how was he able to carry it up there? At what point was he able to put it together? How was he able to do that? And then bring on someone who's an expert in being able to assemble those types of weapons. Maybe a test run from somebody that's done it in the field that was able to carry a weapon. And I'm talking about a complete remake of what Tyler Robinson did, because that would be directly related to the indictment. Follow the steps, they get on the roof, they put it together, because that is a gap that is, in my mind, based on what I read in the indictment, in my interpretation and understanding of the indictment, to me, that is a gap that is missing. Because the indictment never mentions at what point the gun comes into camera view. So have someone recreate that so that can make sense as to how he got the gun up there. Or maybe it was something he did the day before. But she's talking about Egyptian planes and all this other nonsense that have nothing to do with the shooting itself. We don't care about Egyptian planes. But these aren't anomalies. These are her just thinking about other things and talking about planes and going off the tips left in her email inbox where people are trolling her. This isn't anything to do with the actual investigation. I've even said, why won't Candace just go to the campus and retrace the footsteps of the shooter? Take somebody with her that's a weapons expert that can actually show her, okay, if he had this type of weapon, whatever the weapon was that was used, get a replicate of that weapon. And if he had to put it together, here's how he would have done that. This is the type of bullet he would have used. When it hits certain parts of the body, here's how these vertebral discs would have been, broken down and shattered. Here's how the bullet would have fragmented. Why don't you get someone to do that? To try to prove the indictment to be true. But at least you're basing it on the indictment. Something we can all read. Something that is tangible evidence. Why go into Egyptian planes? Start with the indictment first. You see, Candace, that's how true journalists would do that. If I had the type of money and viewership that she has, I would have done that already. I would have flown out a couple weapons expert with me out to University of Utah Valley. I would have had them retrace the footsteps of the shooter. I would have had them do all of that from start to finish. That way, holes in the indictment would make more sense with the recreation of that. But she doesn't want to do any of that because it's not, to her, it wouldn't be entertaining. It wouldn't be sensationalism. People will still watch it, but she may not get 8 million views in the video. That's what she cares about.
Charlie Kirk was assassinated.
And even though she hasn't proven anything yet, within one episode,
She
we've
won't prove
already
anything.
moved on from curious to convinced. And all she had to do was to keep asking questions.
The crime that you were not allowed to commit, just asking questions.
Okay, but her asking questions is exactly what's in question. If you listen closely to her podcast, often she is just asking questions, but in a way where people hear much more than just a question. Sometimes she makes the implications clear, as she did when implying that Donald Trump was involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination.
I think it is a circumstance where we just know that he was truly betrayed in one of the most egregious ways that I think I've ever seen. It has made me lose faith in politics. It has made me fully lose faith in Trump. And my heart aches for the fact that he gave so much of his life to Trump and to politics. And they just were like, nope, that is it. And he serves us or doesn't serve us, and we want to move on. And so here's a holiday. Bro, what is with them giving people a holiday after they kill them? As soon as they give you a boulevard and a holiday, they definitely killed you. There's no question. They killed you.
But most of the time, she stays just short of an accusation. Her questions are often laced with heavy inflammatory suspicion, framed as innocent curiosity, while implying someone's guilt or their hidden motives.
So what was the blue plane doing sitting on the tarmac?
That's what makes her question so powerful, because it gives her plausible deniability. If her theory collapses, she was just asking questions. But if it turns out to be true, then of course she was right.
I have to disagree with him on that. It does not give her plausible deniability. Because asking a question is asking a question. The question needs to be logical and make sense. Candace professes to be some sort of an investigator, even though she's not. She's not a reporter. She's not a journalist. She's a gossiper. But if you're going to ask a question, like I can ask a question about at what point did the gun come into camera view, according to the indictment, he used it, but when did it show up? What was it hiding? When did he have time to put it together? Those are valid questions based on the indictment. Her questions are based off of nonsense that she got out of thin air. What about this blue Egyptian plane and where was it going? What do you mean? Unless the blue Egyptian plane was a plane that Tyler Robinson got on after he shot Charlie Kirk. We don't care. It's like a distraction. It's one big ass distraction to me that has nothing to do with anything. And I have to time someone out because they kept saying, shut up. Nobody runs my channel over here. I don't think people understand the idea of free speech and expression. Telling me to shut up over and over again is not even conversation. If you don't like it, get out. But don't spam my chat. Because YouTube picks that up and they'll block my video because they think that it's a bunch of nonsense. Don't spam the chat. So I put them out. I topped them out. I don't care if the candy asses come over here because we handle the trolls. But they're not even saying anything meaningful because copy and paste. And then they're, most times they're bots. So the bots, if they're not even trying to come up with reasonable statements, I put them out because you're spamming the chat, and I'm not having that. I know, right? Make me. But it's like, why are you spamming the chat with dumb things? Make a point. That's all I'm saying. New tip address. New tip address was he lawyer's office. They trolling hard. Exactly. I found that I pulled it up on Google Maps. The same building she's talking about with the FBI, CIA, the DHS, all these agencies, DOJ. Yeah, that was her attorney's office. That was her attorney's office, and she's trying to actually get the people to believe that the FBI, the DHS, and the DOJ will be in the building where her attorneys are in the building. Same building. No, they don't have to, girl. If they have a headquarter building, it will say what the building is. And yes, they do work together on many special operations. She is absolutely stupid if she thinks that the DOJ and the DHS never work together. That's the dumbest thing ever. It's insane. So I don't do the trolling where, you're saying same thing over and over. Shut up. Not saying anything meaningful. Get out. Don't troll my chat. You can come in and say something, ask questions, give your thoughts and comments. I'm all for free speech, but I'm not for the troll where you're copy pasting the same thing over and over and over again. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. All right, let's get back to it.
All along. And that has a powerful effect on her audience. It's
9
the
million
way that
views.
she frames the questions that makes her audience hear them as evidence for a conspiracy. So she doesn't need to directly accuse anyone because she sets it up so that way her audience fills in the blanks for her. But
she has accused people. She's accused all of his friends of taking the life of Charlie Kirk. All his friends. She is accused Turning Point USA. She has insinuated by doing that Erica Kirk. She even had Erica Kirk's name on the potential passenger list. So why in the world do people still believe she's not involving Erica Kirk? The only difference is Erica Kirk is the only one that's not responding to her. Erica Kirk, please continue to ignore her. I tag Erica Kirk in my videos, by the way.
questions aren't evidence of anything sinister happening. When it comes to actual evidence, is how she controls the evidence. That's one of the most important tactics that she uses. Before we get into that, we have to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Aura. Now, if you've ever wondered how scammers get your phone number or why your inbox is always flooded with spam, well, this is why. There's these companies called data brokers that sell your data, and they do it without your consent, and they make billions of dollars selling your information to marketers, scammers, or even stalkers. And while they're legally required to remove your information if you ask, they make the process confusing and hard on purpose, and that's why I'm thankful for Aura, because Aura takes care of the hard part, automatically removing your information from those sites and keeping it off. They also monitor the app comes with how Candace controls the evidence, making it nearly impossible to argue against her. Take a look at this tweet from Blair White saying that almost no one has proved Tucker or her wrong. And the reason people can say this with so much confidence is because of the way that Candace handles evidence.
I have it now on a very well-placed authoritative source.
To start, when it comes to a lot of her...
Okay, that's not evidence. Do we have to define the word evidence? We got to do it. Evidence is not just you saying you have a source. That's just Candace lying like hell. You have to actually show evidence. So I guess we got to look up the definition of the word evidence, because it must be done. So here it is. Merriam-Webster. Evidence. All right, an outward sign, evidence of an early spring as an example. Something that furnishes proof. Something that furnishes proof. A visible sign of something. Yeah. That means we should be able to see this evidence. A visible sign of something. An outward sign. Y'all see this? Outward sign. Not something you're keeping to yourself and you're making up. Candace, you're making up your sources. You're making up emails. You're making up text messages that are missing date and timestamps. Something as, here it is, testimony, a writing, or an object submitted at a judicial or administrative proceeding for the purpose of proving a party's case. Evidence. Yeah, see, you all see why I keep saying her evidence would not hold up in court? None of that garbage she's saying would hold up in court, because it wouldn't. And when you're talking about a criminal matter, you need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. That is the burden of the prosecution. So if she's saying Tyler Robinson didn't pull the trigger, but she can't say who did it, she's just being disingenuous. She's not providing evidence on anything. How many times have I asked for evidence? Candace, where's the evidence of the video Tyler Robinson was walking with a woman? A video that you claim the FBI proctored based on your stupid tip line where you're being trolled. The collection of proof submitted at a judicial or administrative hearing. Let's see here. Evidence as a verb. To offer evidence of. To be seen. Because evidence has to be seen. We're not seeing anything from her. And the stuff she wants us to see is fake. She's making up text messages. They're fake. And her defense to it is, oh, here, it's my phone. And she never puts it in front of the camera. She never links it and adds it into her actual show. She doesn't have a problem playing a video from Rob McCoy, but somehow she doesn't know how to connect her phone and show the phone through the link into her show. But she's got producers and editors, right? So all of them are incompetent is what you're trying to tell me, Candace. They cannot connect your phone to your laptop and actually pull up a full view of your phone. She never ever held the phone to the camera. So we never truly saw what she was trying to show us when she held up the phone. It was nowhere near the camera. She didn't plug it in to let us see a presentation of her phone. So she never proved anything with that. We have to be able to see the evidence. These aren't things you can make up. This is a word you can define. Evidence is a word that can be defined. You know, because we read here in the Lady Luck Club and I don't play that crap. She has no evidence. None. If I had to disagree with anything he said here, this is it. She has zero evidence. She can't claim plausible deniability. If she gets sued for defamation, she's been sued because the other party would be able to prove that she does not have any evidence for this stuff. And yet she purports it to be facts. She purports these things to be true. That's the issue that she still refuses to learn. Candace, it's a simple lesson. And you still refuse to learn. Because you're bad at this, girl. All you have to do is look up the definition of the word evidence, Candace. It would have given you everything you needed, but you can't do that, because reading.
Her claims, we simply aren't able to verify if they're true or not. She often cites unnamed sources, and we have no way of knowing who they are, how reliable they are, or what they actually said. We just have to take her word for it. So when people say to prove her wrong, well, most of the time you can't because she hasn't provided any evidence that she's right. Now, I'm not saying she's doing this, but in theory, she could just be making it all up. This is why the burden of proof always falls on the person that's making the claim rather than the person questioning it. Okay, but here's where things get even more challenging. Even when we do have...
Candace makes claims all the time. So the onus is on her. If you're going to claim Tyler Robinson did not pull the trigger, I believe he's a part of it, but he didn't do it. Or when she says for a fact that Charlie's neck was not damaged, was not destroyed. Okay, where's your evidence? Or it's a fact that Brigitte Macron was born a man. Nope, she's got to prove that. That's on Candace. See, what they'll be able to do is prove that she's a woman. In essence, prove Candace to be the liar that she is. But Candace will not ever be able to prove with scientific evidence that Brigitte Macron was born a man, because that's the only piece of evidence you need that is irrefutable. Forget all that other crap. I don't care about her 8-part series and none of that. When you're talking about genetics, you're talking about DNA, you're talking about science, human anatomy, things that Candace can't make up. We don't do conspiracy theories over here. We do concrete facts and evidence. And she knows she needs that. That's why she asked for the blood of the first lady. You know, I fly my doctor out, get a little blood, take care of that real quick. Yeah, because she knows she needs blood. She's not getting it. That's the difference. But when the Macrons bring it, they're going to be able to prove that she lied. And she did it with malice intent. And they're going to win. They are going to win, Candace. Mark my words, girl. I want to be in every hearing and make sure I report on every bit of it, too.
Direct evidence showing that she's wrong, it still doesn't count. I mean, take a look at what she said about Netanyahu's letter from Charlie
Hey, Laura.
Kirk.
He is severely misrepresenting. Those sentences are real, but I am calling upon Bibi Netanyahu, the dear friend to Charlie Kirk, to publish the letter's entire contents. Like, don't start with just 2 sentences. Publish the entire thing. You're holding it. I'm saying you're severely misrepresenting the contents.
Now, this is a common power move. She forces Netanyahu to choose between 2 options. He can either release the personal letter to the public or keep it private and look guilty. And when the letter was released and it confirmed exactly what Netanyahu said, it didn't seem to change her mind. In fact, this is the same tactic that we see over and over. She demands evidence, and if you don't give it, then you're hiding something. But even if you do give it, it doesn't disprove her claim. Instead, she treats the evidence as suspicious or even as more proof of a cover-up. So either way, she wins. And that makes it almost impossible for our audience to recognize when she's been proven wrong. In addition, remember when she said this about Bill Ackman blackmailing Charlie?
You're not going to gaslight us and tell us to shut up or call us anti-Semitic for pointing out the fact that Charlie was having a change of heart about the tactics that Israel was using in America, and that he felt when he had left that meeting that he had effectively been blackmailed.
But just 3 days later,
So she never proved that he was having a change of heart. Let's start with that. She never sufficiently even proved that. The only thing that she did was, I guess, tempted the Israeli prime minister to release the full 7-page letter that she then turned around and said, well, how do we know it was sent from his email? How do we know he wasn't pressured to send it? No, the letter is there. You wanted all of the letter to be released. It was released. You trying to question it after the fact is irrelevant, Candace. No one cares what you think after the fact. The point was for the letter to be released. That was released. So trying to doubt everything that is in our reality, we're not willing to go that far. No one should be willing to go that far to be too conspiratorial where you can't even believe that the letter is real. He wrote the letter, Charlie Kirk wrote the letter, and he gave it to the Israeli prime minister. And everyone else that knows about the letter vouched for the same thing. The problem is Candace is like standing alone in the corner when it comes to stuff like that. There are 20 people that can corroborate that Charlie Kirk wrote the letter versus one Candace Owens who thinks now that it's somehow faked and forced and he was forced to write it or it didn't come from his email or whatever. How does she know that it was emailed? Maybe he printed it out and did it the old-fashioned way, emailed. But see, those are the things she doesn't think about. Maybe it was e-faxed. Or perhaps it was faxed over the old-fashioned way. She doesn't ever inquire, how did he receive it? She just blatantly goes after the idea that someone could have hacked into his email and did it himself and sent it as if he did it. She doesn't give Charlie Kirk, even post-mortem, any credit that he may have sent the letter him damn self and that he had justifiable criticism. The criticism does not mean that he was having a change of heart. He wasn't. Don't you think that Erica Kirk, his wife, would be able? She said the same thing. He had questions about it. He didn't agree with everything. She lived with the man. She was married to him. Candace wasn't talking to Charlie Kirk every day like that for the last year or so, up until the day he died. But his wife can attest to him having criticisms, but he still was pro-Israel. And you get someone like a Candace Owens, who did not even talk to Charlie Kirk for a full year leading up to his death, talking about he was having a change of heart, disputing what Erica Kirk is even saying. Who are you more prone to believe here? The woman who hasn't talked to Charlie Kirk in over a year and showed no proof of evidence that she did, that was only focused on trying to reunite with him on stage because this is all a show for her, or the actual wife he married that was with him every day, that talked with him every day on the phone, had 2 kids with him, where he shared everything with, that was his best friend. I'm more prone to believe Erica Kirk here. There was nothing that indicates that he had a change of heart. The only thing that has been produced as far as the letter and the other videos where he talks about, if you say this, then they call you, anti-Semitic. He was just frustrated at the fact that he had true criticisms and questions. He didn't agree with everything. And he was being outcast and called an anti-Semitic. It's justifiable to be irritated at that, to where people are so strict that where you can't have any wiggle room. But it was not an indication that he was having a change of heart and that he was no longer going to be pro-Israel. Candace is lying when she says that. And she's lying against those who knew him that said that is not true. Candace is wrong. And she has not shown any evidence to prove that she is right. The only evidence she's proven is that he had criticisms when she played his video of him talking about it. Because that's something we can see, tangible. Candace, you're going to have to look up the definition of the word evidence, girl. Ugh, this is helpful.
Later, when Bill Ackman denied it, she said,
Okay, buddy, I never said you blackmailed Charlie. I asked you if this moment happened.
So notice how she shifted the claim and then frames him as the liar. And that's what we really see going on here.
Of heart about the tactics that Israel was using in America, and that he felt when he had left that meeting that he had effectively been blackmailed.
But just 3 days later, when Bill Ackman denied it, she said,
okay, buddy, I never said you blackmailed Charlie. I asked you if this moment happened.
So notice how she shifted.
She just said be black. Did you say he blackmailed him? I don't understand this. She'll say one thing. Hold on, let's go back to it. Just look for the word blackmail come out of Candace's mouth. Let's do that.
Remember when she said this about Bill Ackman blackmailing Charlie?
You're not going to gaslight us and tell us to shut up or call us anti-Semitic for pointing out the fact that Charlie was having a change of heart about the tactics that Israel was using in America, and that he felt when he had left that meeting that he had effectively been blackmailed.
But just 3 days later.
How would she know that? Did Charlie Kirk talk to her and say, I feel like I'm being blackmailed? That he felt he had been blackmailed. She used the word blackmail.
When Bill Ackman denied it, she said,
okay, buddy, I never said you blackmailed Charlie. I asked you if this moment happened.
So notice.
No, you said that Charlie Kirk felt that he had been effectively blackmailed. Candace, we're not taking your words into different meanings. We're not your cult members. We're not bots. We take exactly what you say and go from there. The words that come out of your mouth. That's how I do here in the LLC. So Candace she never says what she means and means what she says, because she wants to speak in double talk, and she's still bad at that. But she said he came out of it effectively feeling like he had been blackmailed. Okay, I never accused you of saying that you blackmailed him. Well, that's exactly what you said. If you wanted to ask if the moment happened with the conversation, why not just say, did they have this conversation and what was discussed, and then leave it open-ended? Because that's how journalism works, Candace. You leave it open-ended, so you're not accusing anyone of anything, and you give them the opportunity to answer that question. And then whatever answer they give, you can ask more questions and challenge it, if you have some evidence that may prove otherwise, or you learn how to accept it because that's their answer. And then if something else comes up where they end up being wrong, then you can call the hypocrisy out. But you got to have evidence to do that. Candace, you're bad at this, girl.
That's how she shifted the claim and then frames him as the liar. And that's what we really see going on here, because the way that she gets you hooked is not in the evidence she presents, but in how she frames the evidence.
Yep. She's manipulative.
See, at core, humans are emotional beings, and we respond strongest to emotional arguments. And on social media, nothing spreads faster than moral outrage. It gives us a sense of righteous anger, the feeling that we're on the side of good and standing against evil. And this is something that Candace has nearly mastered, because in every episode, she leans into moral outrage, not just about what happened, but about why more people aren't as angry as she is. And she regularly questions anyone that isn't digging into the case the way that she is.
We all feel that something is spiritually wrong, and yet these people are trying to tell you that there's nothing to see here.
Okay, but if you pay close attention, you notice that she isn't just assuming the very thing that she hasn't proven, that Tyler Robinson wasn't the shooter. She's also treating disagreement with her as a moral test. In her framing, if you disagree with her, you're not just wrong, you're morally wrong, or worse, morally compromised. People are...
That is such a cultish personality type of tactic. It's not even funny. That is exactly how cult leaders think. You know, if you and I'm gonna pull it up so you all can see what I'm saying here. If you don't believe what I'm saying, then spiritually, you're not aligned with me. They almost look at you as if you're the enemy, like something that needs to be defeated. It's like an indoctrination, so to speak. You're coming off where you're appealing to someone's spirituality. And if they have a different belief, then you want them to feel as if it's the wrong belief without saying your spirituality and your beliefs are wrong and mine are right. So they just guilt and shame you into it so bad to where they want you to feel that if you think outside the box, that you're doing something that's spiritually or morally wrong. So what that causes is the individuals to not challenge you as much, to not question as much, because they don't want to feel like they're doing something that's morally or spiritually wrong. All of that is based on feelings and emotions. And Candace claims that she doesn't operate on feelings and emotions. She operates on facts, which we all know is a damn lie from the pit of hell. All Candace does is operate on feelings. That's the same thing Piers Morgan told her when it came to reading the lawsuit from the Macrones. You have no way of pulling away your feelings into this. You're too emotional. A good journalist knows how to report on the facts and keep out your feelings, because facts, evidence, and laws, Candace Owens, does not care how you feel. Facts don't care about your feelings, girl. But because everything she says and does is to invoke some emotional feeling and response, she oftentimes does it to her audience, to her base, to her cult followers, to the candy asses, to the bots, of course. She doesn't have to show them facts. And if they ask questions, then they get attacked for going against the grain, calling her a liar. She hasn't proven anything to be true. And then they, in their mind, see everything she says as a fact. But they don't question it. They don't look up definitions of terms. They don't look at documentation. They don't research. They don't Google anything. And if they do, then they're being spiritually and morally bankrupt and spiritually and morally evil. They're the enemy. That's cult. That's a cult. So we're gonna get a little bit more in, and then we're gonna go over to the code of personality because we need to see that as well.
Afraid to disagree with her, not only because they're worried about being attacked by her and her
Compromise,
fans,
exactly.
but they'll also be painted as immoral, naive, or corrupt. So
Yep.
whether she intends it or not, she creates a powerful good versus evil dynamic. And that's why any disagreement that me or others have with her instantly turns into accusations that we're somehow being paid $7,000 by Israel. In their minds, the only reason that you disagree with them is because you're part of the conspiracy. You notice that she doesn't just argue a case, she creates a cause. And the result is what we see today. A fierce and growing community which keeps her audience loyal, even when she has nothing more to go on than a gut feeling.
I don't know, but I know.
And this
You
is
know
when we get
nothing,
into
girl.
another powerful tactic: spiritual attacks.
Yep.
Lately, she's moved a lot of her attention over to the Christians who don't agree with her. And one thing that she really doesn't like is when Christians use scripture to point out what's wrong with what she's doing, as she made clear in her response to Frank Turek.
Then we have Frank Turek, who engages in this same sort of act of psychological manipulation, in my viewpoint. And he defends Mikey McCoy. I think this is on his own show. Here's what he had to say.
There's a difference between a possibility and evidence for a possibility. You can speculate on anything you want, but unless you have evidence, shut up, okay? Because all you're doing is causing dissension among the brothers,
so right.
which is something the Lord hates.
So the clip goes on, but she not only labels his correction as psychological manipulation, she escalates it by calling his argument a form of spiritual deception.
The other thing he's doing, of course, is the biblical manipulation, which seems to me to be that there has been a military infiltration into the churches. I think we've covered that enough this year. I've termed that Operation Mocking Pastor, where they just try to find some scripture and justify it. And he's a pastor. He's earned trust. So he's saying she's judging people. The Lord says this. The Lord says she shouldn't look into the trial. The Lord says she shouldn't ask questions.
Nope. He never said that the Lord said she should not look into the Charlie Kirk assassination. God said, thou shalt not lie. That's a whole commandment. So when you're saying things that are completely untrue and you know you have no evidence to support it, that is a problem, Candace. And that will be something God will be dealing with you on very soon. Now, you can always stop that from happening by not lying. But see, it's not just with the Charlie Kirk assassination. She lied about Brigitte Macron being born a man. She lies about any and everything except Andrew Tate, I guess. But she lies about any and everything else with ease. She created an entire 8-part series about a woman not caring about her children or grandchildren, calling her a man, saying she was born a man, saying she had a sex change. And I'm not speaking to the other part of the accusation about her getting married to Emmanuel Macron and what age he met and all the stuff that happened in France that our U.S. courts can't do a damn thing about. Because they weren't bound to our U.S. laws. They're in a whole nother country. You can have your moral thoughts about that. But legally, the court can't do anything about it. So if she plans on that being a tactic, it's not going to work. The judge will say that's irrelevant to their lawsuit. It doesn't matter. There's nothing this court can do about it. And keep living. Because facts don't care about your feelings. And the court of law is not a YouTube channel. That Judge Rennie is not going to be in the mood to play her dumbass games. He's not. So the Lord never ever said don't investigate. He said don't lie. And if you're doing nothing but lying and speculating nonsense and gossiping about stuff, but you're not inducing thoughtful questions, bringing up true concerns that are legitimate, she hasn't even read the indictment. And you're just being combative to be combative. What makes you think that's of God anyway? You think God is the author of confusion and chaos? All this is nothing but chaos and confusion with Candace. God is not the author of chaos and confusion. He wants clarity. But not at any price. This is ridiculous what she's doing. People walk away knowing nothing at all. She's just recycling the conspiracy theories now. And now she's bringing her attorneys building into it because that's all that's in that building. The office where her attorneys work. Girl, bye, Felicia.
The Lord thinks that people should just shut up, right? That to me is like the sickest form of manipulation. The sickest form of manipulation is to try to present it via the lens of what God would want. You don't have to do that. Just say what you think, say what you mean,
Exactly,
and try to manipulate people the old school way. Okay.
Now, this has become more of a pattern because even more recently, she not only dismissed Ali Beth Stuckey's scripture-filled critique by calling her Christianity fake, but even worse, Candace doesn't seem to mind appealing to God in the Bible when it suits her case.
There's no justification. There definitively cannot be any godly justification for what they have done and what they have always done in Gaza. Once you recognize the people defending that, beyond this, you will start to look at them as possessed by some sort of a demon. And typically that demon is just money. Okay. They just want the money.
Okay, so Candace is going to be giving up all her money that she's earned from Charlie Kirk and sending it to Gaza, right? Candace, are you going to be giving all your money over to Gaza, to the people of Gaza? You got $244 million. So we should expect Candace Owens and George Farmer to be giving up their worldly possessions and sending it over to Gaza, right? Or perhaps, Candace, you and George Farmer move over there to Gaza so you can help people directly. That sounds like a good idea to me. I think Candace should donate millions of dollars to Gaza because she obviously has a problem with what's going on and she is in a financial position to be able to help. So, Candace, in the Bible, God did ask many times for his servants to give up their worldly possessions. Even Jesus asked that of the disciples. Are you willing to give up your jobs and give up what you do for a living and become fishers of men? Serve as a disciple. Candace, are you going to be a disciple and go over there and help people in Gaza? Are you going to send them money? Are you going to help build homes there? What about medications and access to some health care? Are you going to help build a hospital? What about a school for kids to go to school? Is Candace even a philanthropist? Does she even donate? I'm just saying, Candace, since you want to sit here and try to solve this problem in Gaza, it is going to take some money to help these people. I haven't heard, you say anything about Christians being murdered in Nigeria. Are you going to do something about that? There's so many things where you could be helpful, financially speaking, because you've been making a lot of money on this as well. Candace probably is earning the highest amount of money on YouTube regarding her content on Charlie Kirk than any other content creator. Are you going to take some of that money and give it over to Erica Kirk? Give it over to Gaza? Give it over to Nigeria, to those families that lost their loved ones because they were Christians? What are you going to do? You evil, vile woman. What are you going to do?
And the Bible is explicit about that, right? You can't have both. And like I said, God's chosen people do not endorse that. In fact, only Satan chosen people could.
So she does seem comfortable using religious language in scripture as a way to give her claims spiritual weight, while discrediting Christians who do the same when they reach different conclusions. And here's where it gets even more concerning.
Play that again. Let's play it again.
Religious language in scripture as a way to give her.
Do not endorse that. In fact, only Satan chosen people could.
So she does seem comfortable using religious language in scripture as a way to give her claims spiritual weight, while discrediting Christians who do the same when they reach different conclusions.
That's called hypocrisy, Candace. You are the biggest hypocrite, the absolute biggest hypocrite on earth right now. You are a full-blown hypocrite, Candace. And the reason why she does it is to be emotionally manipulative. mentally and emotionally manipulative. That's what that's it. That's why she does it. Because she has no facts or evidence to present to anyone. So she has to come from this emotional angle where she's inducing feelings and fake outrage on things. People who have evidence don't need to do that. I didn't have to bring and induce anybody's feelings about the email where they confirmed that a degree was awarded to a person named Candace Amber Owens with that date of birth 04/29/89. Did I have to induce anyone's feelings into that? I just showed the email. It's called facts. We can question it. We can truly question whether or not was it a dual degree or any of those things because it wasn't specific. But I didn't have to induce anyone's feelings or emotions or get anybody fake outrage just to show that damn email. I just showed the email. Candace, you're bad at this.
And here's where it gets even
Dumb
more
cult
concerning.
leader.
Listen to how she uses spiritual language here.
I am begging you all, those of you who go to these mega churches, those of you who are evangelical, who follow these evangelical influencers, you are probably noticing about now that they are mum on the topic of Charlie Kirk. They want to move on. They want to let it be known that it's just a trans shooter. Not one of them is standing up and going, no. I spiritually feel that something is wrong. We all feel that something is spiritually wrong. And yet these people are trying to tell you if there's nothing to see here. That needs to be your wake-up call.
So first, she treats her instincts as spiritual signals from God. And second, anyone who doesn't share those instincts is framed as spiritually blind or spiritually compromised.
They are asked,
or we're the enemy, or we're jealous, or we're being paid by Israel, because Benjamin Netanyahu, I'm still waiting on that $77,000 check, bro. Yeah, the candy asses want you to pay me $77,777.77. All sevens. Because 7 is the magical number. It's the day of completion. I will feel complete with that $77,777.77 check in my hand, or Cash App, or Zelle, or you can send it in the mail, because they don't think that you can actually send cash in the mail. I know you can't, but whatever. Let them think what they think, because they don't think about anything else. So, yeah, you can send that cashier's check in the mail. I'll take it.
You to set aside your instinct, your gut instinct,
You
your
can't make this
God
up.
instinct. You recognize something is wrong.
However, this is ironic given that
God said, leave my name out your mouth, girl. All that blasphemy.
thousands of comments that people have left in my videos saying that they did trust their spiritual instincts and it led them away from Candace. They
Thank
felt like
you,
something
Jesus.
was off in their spirit, and not with the people that she critiques, but in the way that
That's
she's
right.
been approaching
Hey,
things. lately.
Kana.
And by the way,
Hey, Kana. Look at that. Yeah, you got highlighted today. Look at that. Y'all saw Kana up there?
with the people that she critiques, but in the way that
There you go. Kana Michelle. What's going on? Yeah. She said the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Galatians 5:22-23. A true Christian will display these qualities in their daily lives. Does Candace display these qualities, or do you see more of hate, gossip, backbiting, spreading lies and mistruths, accusing, and anger? I know what I see. Can we just give a shout out to Connor? That's in our chat. This fantastic LLC. One of the Luxers here. Connor. Well done. Well said. Well said, Connor. Well said.
she's been approaching things lately. And by the way, if you felt that too, if you believe that something in your spirit is being unsettled by what she's been doing, go ahead and write it down below in the comments. And not to attack her, but just to see how many Christians have been sensing the same thing.
I'm gonna tell y'all something right now. Even if you leave a comment, the candy asses and the cult followers and the bots, they're gonna see it as an attack either way. We just have to get to a point where we don't give a crap about what they think. We don't care about what the candy asses and the bots think. There's no such thing as not attacking to them. They see any criticism as attacking, or you're being jealous somehow. I will never be jealous of an idiot being sued by a world leader. Candace is being sued by the president of France. Why would I be jealous of that? That's a stupid thing to be jealous about. Because these candy asses, the cult leader, the cult followers, and the bots, they don't compute well. They don't compute. When you're jealous of someone, you're taking on the good and the bad. You can't just say, if I'm going to be jealous and envious of someone, that I only want the good things that I see and not expect to have the bad brought with it. I would love to get a $2 million check, but not at the price of me being sued by the leader of France, by the French president. That's not worth it to me. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose your soul? Candace has lost her soul, her humanity, her conscience. She has no guilt, no shame, unrepentant. Does she even serve God at this point?